I will call our Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting to order for November the 19th, 2018. It is customary for us to start our meetings with a prayer by a commissioner. We would invite you to stand and join us in that prayer. You're welcome to use this time to have your own prayer or a moment of silence, whichever you choose. I'd like to ask Lisa Barnes if she would lead us in the invocation, and remember Ms. Richardson, who you notice is not here today. She actually had a knee replacement at 1:30 today, is what she told me over the weekend. I think that's the correct time. And Commissioner Outlaw, since we were in this room, if you'd have the Pledge of Allegiance after we finish this, that'd be great. Ms. Barnes?
Now would pray with me. Heavenly Father, we come before you today, and I just worship you as the source. You're the source of all life, all power, Lord, and all grace. And we just thank you for that today. In this time of Thanksgiving, Lord, we are grateful for your many blessings that you have given us, and I pray that we would always use what you've given us for our community and to glorify and honor you. And Lord, I do lift up Commissioner Richardson today, and I ask that you would guide the surgeon's hands, Lord, and you would bring strength and comfort and healing to her, Lord. And we just ask for your wisdom and your guidance today in the decisions that we will be making, and that everything we do and say would bring honor and glory to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
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 Would you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barnes, I always enjoy your prayer. I'm going to have to invite you to come back and see us on some Mondays when you're not in session after January, and we will request that you enlighten us with the invocation again, if you're willing to do that. Next on the agenda, item number 3 is a great item on the agenda. It's employee recognition for United Way, Care, Share, and Landmark contributions. I'd ask Z. Lamb if he would to come forward and call out those names and make those presentations. I'm very proud of our employee base, and I'm sure the commissioners are, for the United Way giving that we accomplished this year. I tell you, I'm a firm believer in United Way. I've worked with the city starting in 1973. They had a real active employee contribution campaign all the way back in 73, and I enjoyed each year, participated in United Way. In fact, I remember one thing. I left in 1981, and the month before I was leaving, I went up and got them to tell me what I owed for that year, because we would do, and Jenny's heard this story before, because we do payroll deductions. And I remember the lady named Ann asked me, why do you want to know that you're leaving? I said, well, you know, I made a commitment to pay that for the year, and so I want to find out what it is so I can write the check for the rest of it. She said, nobody's ever done that before. I'm not sure I can come up with that number. I said, well, Ann, if you don't mind, how about try? Because, you know, when you commit to do something, you need to try to do it. And she got me the number. I don't know where she got it from, but she did indeed. But I really appreciate, on behalf of the board, each one of our employees that participated in United Way this year. Mr. Lamb?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is truly a great pleasure to have this small ceremony today, honoring those who have meant so much to our campaign this year. As y'all know, we have achieved a great year, over 190 participants, over $22,000, compares wonderfully compared to last year, and I'd like to thank those who were involved, particularly Stacy and Annison, but also the help we got from staff with the United Way during our campaign. At this time, we're going to give a small gift to all our large givers, let's call it. What do you call them? Care Share givers. If you could, yeah, help me with this. I'm gonna call out the name and okay. Sure. The first one is Megan Bandy. Is that Bandy? Megan Bandy, she's not here. Where I'm from, that would have been Bundy, but maybe it's Bandy. Joseph Bradshaw,
Where's he from?
Jackie Cartier. Come forward, please. Mary Clinton. Thank you, Mary. Lynette Cooper. See, the tax office is doing pretty good. So. Thank you.
I've been there working.
Oh, okay.
Robbie Davis.
Thought this was for employees. Guess I am an employee.
First time I remember us being on equal footing. How you doing?
We're always on equal footing.
Thank you. Tony Denson. Janice Evans, please come forward. Thank you. Scott Farmer. Thomas Gillespie. There he is. Brenda Godwin.
Come on, Stacy.
Thank you. Amy Hamlet.
Aren't you gonna call me Hamilton?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have to shake your hand, too.
Yeah, thank you. Tammy Jones. Natalie King. Ooh, get this out of the way. Thank you. Z Lamb. Michelle McKnight.
Get my diploma.
Thank you. Shay Neal. Thank you. Kimberly Nicholson. Nancy Nixon. Roxy Packer. Right here. Mike Phillips. Thank you. Amber Piasecki. Did I say it right? Oh, I'm sorry. Shannon Phillips. Messed up. One too many Phillips.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Pittman. Scott Rogers. Stacy Schatzer. Karen Smith.
Thank you, Stacy.
Erica Stillman. Denisha Sweet.
Thank you.
Y'all may know one time I sent out an email to all the staff, and instead of saying sweet, I said sweat. You know, but that was really sweat. You know, so always I'm careful on that word now. Donna Tinsley, Paula Walker, and Keith Wood. Well, in their absence, I want to thank them. I want to thank all of y'all again for your contributions, especially you new people that have just been with us a year or two. To step up at this level means a lot to us. And just coincidentally, we have one of our recipients, Peacemakers, here today to give a presentation to the board, and I know he appreciates all the help y'all are doing for us. But it means so much when we give back to the community as public employees. It really does. At this time, I'm going to introduce Vic and Jenny for a few, and Tim for a few comments.
Thank you. Thanks for letting us be here. We appreciate it
Thank you for being
very,
here.
very much. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you today. One of the really nice things about being part of this and co-chairing the campaign with Mr. Lamb is we've been in front of literally thousands of people who have been participants at various stages of the campaign. We're now at the point now where we come in to celebrate successful campaigns, and it's a wonderful time. But it also gives me personally an opportunity to thank the people that have been so important to the United Way in supporting the 24 nonprofits that we try to support. We have, again, a relationship, and I've seen some things kind of up close and personal the last few years to know just how important all that we're talking about really is in your participation. And one thing I know for sure is that leadership matters, and you really have taken the lead. And the leadership that Manager Lamb provides, the commissioners, and all of you by the example that you set, will mean not only a lot this year, but you watch what happens next year. And I hope we're all still here next year to be able to talk about it. At this time, we want to recognize landmark leadership givers, giving at the high level, and these people have really stepped up. Everybody at their own level, makes a sacrifice to help others. We're asking you to go in and your hand in your pocket and help other people. And we have people that you're here because to celebrate your success and your willingness and your commitment. But we do have 7 people who gave at the landmark leadership level that we want to give some special recognition to today. And This first person has been involved, as he said himself, since about 1973. He has been a longtime supporter of United Way. When we moved into our new facility, when United Way moved into, he was a key person, his expertise as well as just putting hands on and getting things done and helping us get the building ready that we're in right now as our headquarters. And all of that was truly, truly appreciated. But our first landmark giver that we would like to recognize is Robbie Davis. She does a lot better picture than me. Thank you. The second person that gave it the leadership, landmark leadership level was Tammy Jones. And this person has been very, very important to what's happened here in your campaign this year, and he's been a good partner. It's kind of a strange bedfellow sometimes when you, but we have enjoyed working with each other, and we've been a good team. Z. Lamb.
Stand it up. Stand it up.
The next person we'd like to recognize is Nancy Nixon. Scott, did Scott come in? Scott Rogers?
No.
Okay. Scott Rogers was also a landmark leader giver. Stacy Schatzer.
Jenny, you missed taking your picture that time.
We were having a gift malfunction over here. Just make sure we had it.
Okay. And the last person we will recognize today, but certainly not least, Michelle McKnight. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
I called Jenny out for missing a picture. I used to kid her quite a bit. Her and Pat out at the community college always had a race each year of how many times they could get the picture in the paper. And Jenny normally won, but it was always real close. Now, ain't that bad? You see that?
That's cool. I didn't know.
That was cool the way you turned the thing around like that.
Teamwork.
Well, we are now on item 4. Commissioner Outlaw, you set this up. Would you like to introduce this presenter?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about him. It's a great pleasure to have Jesse Lewis with us today. He's the Executive Director of Peacemakers. It's a Christian community development organization serving the under-resourced area of South Rocky Mount. The mission of the organization is to empower members of the community with the knowledge and skills necessary to lead successful and sustainable lives. providing those seeking their services with a hand up rather than a handout. Just a few of the services provided in partnership with Nash Community College Vocational Training for High School Dropouts, Converge program, preparing students for life after school through personal budget training and in other ways. Freedom School, a summer program that on average increased reading levels 18 months in 7 weeks with at-risk children. That's quite an amazing accomplishment. Special programs and services such as Bible studies and parenting classes and Christmas Toy Store, which my Ruerton Club most recently made a donation to that program. It's a program that exemplifies Christian compassion and love. Jesse and his team provide these and many other services, and it's a great honor for us to have you with us today, Jesse. Thank you for what you're doing in this area to help the underprivileged.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, folks, for having me out today. Appreciate it. And thank you, before I start, for your support through United Way. It has been a huge help to us in what we're doing in Nash and Edgecombe counties. I appreciate the chance to share with you today. As Mr. Outlaw said, Peacemakers is a Christian community development organization primarily serving the South Rocky Mount community. It started about 12 years ago with a group of us from a local church that started working in the neighborhood. And then we actually got to the point of opening Peacemakers in June of 2012. We take a holistic approach to trying to address the challenges of our low-income communities because there's always a number of factors leading to somebody being in a state of poverty. At Peacemakers, we define poverty as a lack of access or a lack of connectedness, as opposed to a lack of material resources. And the definition is important because if you define it as a lack of material resources, then your solution is going to be to provide more material resources. But honestly, if that was the solution in and of itself, we would have solved it a long time ago. But when you define it as a lack of access or a lack of connectedness, then the work to be done is the work of reconciliation and the work of connecting people to the people and systems and opportunities to move them towards being able to sustain themselves and their families. Peacemakers works in 4 specific areas: job readiness, and Mr. Outlaw kind of read through this already for me, but I'll just go through it again real quick. Job readiness, we have adult education classes, so we do high school equivalency exam prep, we do personal finances, we do home health care classes, those types of things, trying to get people ready to enter the job market. We have a vocational training program that we do in combination with Nash Community College. And this semester we've done an electrical skills class and a home health class. Next semester we're doing a brick mason class and a home health class. That's going really well. And with that program, we bring employers in at the end of the semester to interview the people that have successfully completed the class. And so hopefully they go straight into employment. The second area of focus for us is housing redevelopment. That's going to be a big focus for us in 2019. It really matters what the environment looks like when you talk about people's outlook on life. It also matters when you're talking about ending generational poverty because most of us, our wealth is tied up in our home, right? And a lot of areas like South Rocky Mount have a very low percentage of home ownership. And so we have to work on moving people from being renters to being home owners so that they can start accruing that long-term wealth and passing it on to their families. We work on improving the home environment through parenting classes, through men's and women's Bible studies during the week, through family fun nights, which we do once a month, getting families just to spend time together, playing together, enjoying each other. And then probably the biggest area of focus for us is education. We have a number of programs related to education. We have an after-school program that's operating now during the school year for about 40 kids that's free of charge to them. We have a program called Refocus that is an alternative day program that we sponsor in conjunction with the school district so that suspended elementary school kids can come to us instead of being at home. And it's for kids that have been suspended from 3 to 10 days. And if they finish the program with us, the suspension actually gets taken off their record. We have a behavior specialist on staff, and then the school district provides an EC teacher there. So they're keeping up to date on their homework and also getting the behavioral help that they need. So hopefully their suspensions are going to go down long term. We do a open access computer lab that's open 6 days a week that anybody in the neighborhood can come in and use, including our kids. A lot of our families in South Rocky Mountain don't have computer access at home. And so having internet access in today's school environment is a big deal. We have book parties once a month. We just had one last weekend. The book parties are for kids that come in. We usually have 75 or 80 kids. They get pizza, they do some activities, and then they get to get 4 or 5 books, and they take them home with them, and they keep them. And the idea is that over the course of 8 or 10 months, if the kid comes every month, he's building up a library in his home of books that he's picked out, so hopefully he wants to read them, and, you know, they're age appropriate for him. But a lot of, one issue that low-income families face is the lack of reading material in the home for their children. And so we're trying to solve that problem. And then we have a summer program for high school kids that we just started last summer to prep them for both the job market and for success in college. And then probably the biggest program for us is Freedom School. Freedom School is a 7-week summer intensive reading program that we do every summer. We have done it for the last 7 summers in a row. We have 240 children total in that program, 120 at our site in South Rocky Mountain, and then 120 at Patillo Middle School in Tarboro. And that program, if you've ever been there, which if you haven't, I hope you'll come just to see it in action, but it's very high energy all day, every day. This is the program that United Way supports. And, but we see great results from that program with the children every summer. It's an extremely positive environment, upbeat environment. We get the kids just to believe in themselves and their own abilities. We have a reading specialist on staff who works with our volunteers to make sure that kids that need a lot of remedial help get that over the summer. A lot of our low-income kids suffer from summer reading loss, right? Meaning their scores in September are worse than their scores were the previous May. And so this program is specifically geared for low-income kids to stop that slide. And as Mr. Outlaw said, we pre-test and post-test our kids every summer. And over the 7 weeks of that program, the average reading score goes up 18 months. And so we know the program works. We have that same success every year, year after year. And so we are committed to that long-term and really appreciate, again, the support of United Way and you guys through United Way for that program. We believe that South Rocky Mount can be a great place to live. Not many people in Rocky Mount would say that about South Rocky Mount right now. It's got a bad reputation, probably worse reputation than it deserves. There's a lot of great people that live in South Rocky Mount. And there's some great things happening. And we love our neighbors. We want to see them succeed, and we want to partner with them. But I will say that we're coming into this thing, number one, with a long-term approach, and number two, with the posture of we're not coming in as the savior with the answers, because we don't have them. We believe that the people in the neighborhood actually have the answers, and they just need people to come alongside them and partner with them to move towards success and self-sustainability. And so that's what we're about. We love what we do, and we love for you guys to come visit us anytime you can. But thank you for letting us share a minute about Peacemakers.
Thank you for being here, Jessica. Any commissioner have any questions about the program?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Belfield.
I would say this, I'm a strong supporter of what they're doing. Ms. Lewis spent quite some time with South Rocky Mountain in that community before they got this program started. So he made himself very familiar with South Rocky Mountain. And I think you're doing a tremendous job.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. I appreciate that.
Mr. Outlaw?
I just wondered on that Freedom Program, you said 240, 120 in Rocky Mount, 120 in Tarboro. Mm-hmm. Are you limited to the number of kids that you can have in that program?
We are, we're not by the stipulations of the program, but we are at Peacemakers because of space. 120 maxes out our building. So in order for us to expand the number covered in Rocky Mount, we're going to have to start a third campus somewhere, which we're considering doing probably summer of 2020.
So there's a lot more kids that could benefit
Sure.
from the program.
Sure.
Is there any discussion with Nash Rocky Mount School System on a collaboration to provide that space or anything like that, or?
No, so historically, real quick, Nash Rocky Mount Schools was initially providing a little bit of funding through the program they have to provide programming for homeless students in the summertime. So we were able to obtain a little bit of funding through that for a couple of years. That's unfortunately gone away because of whatever reasons with the district. On the Edgecombe side, Edgecombe County Schools actually provides about $50,000 in funding each year, and then they also provide the building and transportation and janitorial services. So as it is right now, there is, we do get a good bit more support actually on the Edgecombe County side, but that's because Edgecombe County kind of came to us and said, hey, we really want this program in Edgecombe County. And so, it's probably just been a little bit slower developing in Nash County, but we do want to see it expanded in Nash County. There's so many kids that need the program. And we know, like I said, because of the testing data, that we can make progress summer after summer. And so we want to reach more kids, but it's a matter for us of getting the funding and finding the space. Both of those. So it costs us about $1,000 a kid to operate that program for the summer. So.
Other comments, questions from
I
commissioners?
just want to comment on the thing that you do for the children for Christmas toys. I know our church does it every year, we're doing it again, but I think it's wonderful that you do that, but you let the parents pay something so they feel like they got a part of it.
Yeah.
And so our church is doing it. If anybody wants to donate any toys, we'd be glad to make sure Jesse gets them.
Awesome. Mr. Davis, if I could have 90 seconds to hit that real quick.
You can have all the time you
I don't know
need.
how much time you guys have today. But, a lot of us, probably all of us, have been involved in charities where we adopt a family for Christmas, right? And then we show up at their house with a big garbage bag full of toys. And that's always great for the kid. A lot of times it's a little bit harder on the parent because we're kind of inadvertently making it obvious to the parent that they haven't been able to provide for their child. And that's hard from a pride perspective, a self-worth perspective. And so what we do at Peacemakers is we set up this toy store for 2 days in December. And we send out about 1,000 invitations to families, either through DSS or through school social workers or through families that we know through Freedom School or other contacts. And the parents can come and shop at that store. And everything at the store is new. The toys are 80% off what you would get at a normal store. So if it's a $20 toy, they can get it for $4. And so almost every parent can afford that. And even in the small number of cases where the parent can't even afford that, we have some opportunities for them to work in the store volunteering so that they can earn money to buy stuff in the store. But then we have a station set up so they can wrap their toys before they leave. So they're leaving with toys that they've picked out, that they've bought, that they've wrapped. And it's just a lot more empowering for the family than, just showing up and saying, here's the stuff that you may or may not want, kind of thing. And I'm not knocking what anybody else does because it's all needed and generous, but we just want to be able to really empower the families in our area. So that's what that's about.
I'll be honest with you, I've known about your organization, Jesse, for a number of years, but when I heard how your toy store worked and the fact that they did have to purchase the toys, that's what really got me interested in what y'all do there.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you reiterated exactly what goes on with that. Another organization that some of us commissioners chose to do that last year for our Republican Executive Committee and take toys and carry them down there, and we'll be doing that again this year as well. So that was, I'm just real impressed with the way you handled that particular item. I see the buy-in from the parents, and now I see the part about showing up at the door and where it puts the parent at. So it's a win-win for everybody, quite frankly. Other comments?
I think you have volunteer opportunities if people are interested in.
Always, particularly with the toy store, there's a ton of work to do with that whole operation. We've been already working on that for about a month and a half, so
coming up soon.
Yeah, it is. Thank y'all very much for your time. Please come see us.
What location is that? Is that at your church, the toy
It-
stores?
1725 Davis
That
Street.
his-
Oh, it's at their
Yeah,
facility.
Peacemakers, yeah.
Yeah. You remember we did that last year.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I had one more question, Jesse, if you would. The $50,000 you mentioned, do you know if it comes from the county of Edgecombe, or does it come from Edgecombe County School System?
It's the school system,
It's
school district, yeah.
system. Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 5. It's a tax penalty waiver request from Pfizer. Mr. Wren?
Mr. Chairman, other members of the board, Mr. Manager, I appreciate you letting me bring this to you at this meeting. This is I kind of feel kind of like I'm spoiling the afternoon because it's all been so good and festive. Of course, when you talk about taxes, it don't have to be so bad. But we have a taxpayer, Pfizer Incorporated, who has, as your literature indicates, is requesting that that the board consider releasing or abating the penalty. As I'm sure you're aware of, in recent years, we've had a relationship with Tax Management Associates, or TMA, and they've been doing business personal property audits throughout the county. And this is the result of one of those more recent audits. And in your information, you should have several items. You should have a copy of the discovery bill.
Actually, Mr. Wren, I don't know that we have anything
No.
in our packet.
It's not in the packet.
Maybe, I was going to say, you might want to defer me while I go make copies, if that's the case.
Why don't we do that? We'll let
Yeah.
Ms. Wood come up and take care of some budget amendments. But I think we're all kind of in the dark on this one, including the attorney mentioned to me, asked me before we started what it was, so
Okay,
apparently he's in the dark as well.
all right, I'll do that.
Does anybody have anything on it in their packet? Maybe mine's just missing some data.
I don't have anything in my packet. I have had conversation
Right, okay.
with Mr. Wren.
Jim, we'll be right back with you.
Yeah.
Moving to item number 7, Ms. Wood, budget amendments.
6.
Excuse me, number
Six. Number 6.
6.
Okay.
Right, first, grant project ordinance.
Okay, I have an amendment for a grant project ordinance. This is with the Middlesex Corporate Center Water, Sewer, and Road Project. So the town of Middlesex received a commerce grant for $1,514,600 from the North Carolina Commerce Rural Ready Site Development Program to construct a 250,000-gallon tank and a 12-inch water line loop at the Middlesex Corporate Center. Through an interlocal agreement and approval from North Carolina Commerce, the grant was transferred to Nash County in order for the county to consolidate the project construction along with the construction of the water and sewer and road infrastructure project. And this is to be, that will be funded primarily from the Golden Leaf Foundation grant funds. So the attached grant project amendment is just adding the North Carolina Commerce Rural Ready grant to our project.
Did we, I know we worked on that a couple of weeks ago, and everybody has agreed, Middlesex has agreed to do it this way, as well as the funding agency now?
We have agreed. I don't think the actual interlocal agreement has been signed, but this is just to set it up. I know it's all been approved for us to have it.
And I think the grantee really preferred it be done this way, if I remember the language we got that day that gentleman was with us.
That's right.
All right, so really you just need the grant project ordinance approved.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions on this, board members? Don, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, there's a second.
Second.
Have a second from Ms. Barnes. First, I think, Mr. Bellfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign. Grant ordinance is approved. And while you're there, we also have budget amendments, item number 7.
Okay. I have 2 budget amendments. The first one is with Nash Community College. It's budget amendments to budget capital funding to install an exhaust fan and damper on the welding shop roof at Southern Nash High School. It's $44,166 from fund balance. Will be additional capital for Nash Community College.
Let me take that one individually if I could.
Sure.
If y'all recall, we got this request during budget time last year, and we chose to not put it in the budget, but I think we indicated to the school system, if indeed it came up and was going to be done, that we would take it under advisement at that time and do a budget amendment, which is where we are here today. I understand the work is complete, Mr. Outlaw, is that correct? And therefore, we need to pay the contractor that did the work. But we did discuss it back at our budget session. Any questions on this item? If not, I would entertain, we'll go ahead and do them both at the same time then. Go ahead and explain the next one. I just wanted to cover where we were at with that one.
Okay. The next item was with Register of Deeds, and this budget amendments to budget funds from the Register of Deeds automation account. And this is to fund services to electronically capture and catalog images of records of birth certificates from 1988 to 2017. It's $21,055, and no additional county funds are needed.
Any questions on this budget amendment? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval for both items.
So moved.
Moved by Ms.
Second.
Wells, second by Mr. Belfield. Any questions on that motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. Thank you, Ms. Wood.
Thank you.
Ren, if you want to give us just a second here, we'll look at what we got, and then we'll move forward with you, sir. Jim, is your presentation going to come with a recommendation?
I hadn't planned on recommending anything, I was going to advise you of
Okay.
what I
I
felt
got
like you had to.
Okay, that's fine.
If put on the spot, I could be coerced into something like.
We ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I apologize for any confusion. But what you're looking at is, there's a discovery bill for Pfizer as a result of an audit by Tax Management Associates this year for $312,122.73. So what that means is discovery, the way the discovery law or works basically is when they discover they do an audit and they discover property, usually personal property, well, it's always personal property in a discovery. They find that something was either machinery and equipment or tooling was either omitted or undervalued, or the value was understated. So then, when they make these discoveries, they have the right to go back 5 years on the discovery amounts. So no matter how far back maybe it had been omitted or whatever, or there was any errors, they can't go back but 5 years. Now, in this case, they go back 5 years, and the discovery bill resulted, and these bills can be very confusing, but when you look at the bill in front of you, you see all these lines of figures in the total due column over to the right. What that represents is, and I probably should have written it in a little better, but the first amount is the amount of tax that would have been billed without any penalty for the year 2017 that was underreported. And so you go on down, in other words, the $61,545.48 is the amount of tax that would have been assessed or applied to that equipment that was underreported. Then you go down, 2016 is the $56,359.17 amount, and so on. You go on down to the first 5 lines are the actual tax amounts that would have been billed without any penalty considered if they had reported it in a timely manner. And then when you go to the 6th line and there on out, you've got the NCOL. That's the computer's way of recognizing that it's a late penalty. And so there again, you look at the penalty amounts that were applied for 2017, 16, 15, 14, and 13. That completes that entire bill for the total of just over $312,000. The amount of those penalty amounts is actually $64,868.69. So the actual amount of the taxes they would have paid if they had reported in a timely manner each year would have been $247,254.04. Now the taxpayer is not arguing in they have a letter in your packet, request for penalty abatement letter. And in the letter, you'll notice that they're not arguing with the amount that they should have paid as far as the taxes are. What their request is they're requesting that you consider compromising, or actually they're asking to abate the amount of the penalty. And what they point out, I have to admit, is a little bit, makes this situation a little bit unique from what you may have seen in the past, in that, as they point out, they purchased the property in February of 2015, so their first year of listing or being required to list as Pfizer would have been January of 2016. However, 2016 and 2017, of course, were those items were still omitted, and I think they would argue that, it took, of course, it took an audit to help them discover that prior omission when it was under someone else's ownership. So now, I know there from time to time you may remember that I have been up here before a few times anyway, and where somebody was, or a taxpayer, a business taxpayer, would be requesting that we abate a late listing penalty. And I would have to tell you that you don't have the authority, and I don't have the authority to compromise or abate that penalty. In other words, if you were to abate a late listing penalty, which is simply, let's say this year, 2018, let's say a taxpayer, a business, got a tax bill and they were late listing their taxes when they went out in July or August. And then I come to you because they are requesting that you release the penalty amount. Neither one of us would actually have the authority to do so in that case, and we would be having to show you 105-381, which you've probably seen before. I know you have over the years, and your hands would be kind of tied. But this is an exception to that rule because this property was not listed late in that it was listed late, but the statute provides a way. It falls under the discovery statute. And when it falls under the discovery statute, you have a copy of that too, and the discovery statute under Section K, the power to compromise, after a tax receipt computed and prepared as required by legal language, subsections G and H, this section has been delivered and charged to the tax collector as prescribed in subsection J above. The Board of County Commissioners, upon the petition of the taxpayer, may compromise, settle, or adjust the county's claim for taxes arising therefrom. The Board of Commissioners may by resolution delegate, that just goes on to say that you could delegate that authority to the Board of Equalization and Review, which you also sit as when you're in session for that. But that's just basically saying that you do, in the case of a discovery bill, which this is, you do have that authority if you so choose to compromise the tax bill.
That being penalty as well as tax amount.
Yes, sir.
Could be.
The penalty is considered tax. All of it is tax at this point.
Okay.
So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions from commissioners of Mr. Green, Mr. Belfield?
Is this the results of the company not reporting true value of the machinery and equipment in this facility?
It's the result of I guess it's the result of, it's kind of complex. If I was to bring you the file of the complete discovery, it's a lot of bits and pieces over the 5-year period, and it is, and I'll tell you where most of it comes in at. Most of it comes in and this is not an exception, in the confusion that admittedly can occur when a taxpayer, a business taxpayer, is trying to report and they may not fully understand what is classified as personal property versus real estate. I guess one example would be the cooling system in a building. You can imagine, and I know some of you know better than others, that the cooling system in a huge facility like that is a lot, there's a lot of value there. Well, is it classified with the real estate or with the personal property? And in the case of Pfizer, I'm sure there's a great deal of the value, yes, is there as real estate because it is part of the structure and provides the comfort for the employees or the workers. However, there's also, in their case and in other manufacturing facilities, a substantial amount of value tied up in air handling systems, air conditioning, or that type of HVAC systems that is actually for the process of manufacturing their product. Anything that's used, or any type of such system as that is used for manufacturing the product, then that is classified as personal property, if it's used in the process of manufacturing their product. And that can be somewhat confusing. And I know that in this particular audit that there was a lot of time spent with the tax management auditors and the Pfizer people trying to just nail down exactly what was real and what was personal. And that was one of the areas, but there were other areas. I hope that helps, Mr. Belfield.
Well, what I really want to look at is it any responsibility on the county's part in this, what happened here?
I would not think so. No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Other comments, questions from commissioners?
And you say this has never happened before?
Okay, and that, it has happened before. We've had discoveries before. Now, I'm not aware, and since I've been here, I'm working on my 10th year. I'm not aware of a time when you have abated a penalty. But I will have to say, this does have that unique twist in that you have a taxpayer being penalized for years in which they did not own the property. But that is the way our property tax laws work.
So you've never really had it happen under these conditions? Where you transfer ownership of a property?
I'm not aware of that, no, sir.
Okay.
I'm not saying my memory is infallible, I'm just saying I don't recall any.
I don't either.
Yeah.
How many years is this total?
This is for 5 years, for the tax years 2017 back to 2013.
And how many years was prior to them acquiring it? 3?
That's right, 3.
There's only two,
Yeah, they acquired it in February of 2015.
16 and
So
17.
it's two,
But, so they would have been responsible for reporting
For 2 years.
2016 and 2017.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Should their audits for 16 and 17 have picked up on it typically?
Well, if they did an internal audit, but, of course, our audit picked up on it, but I guess they probably were working with whatever figures they inherited, and I don't know to what extent they would have audited all of that. Now, I guess you might expect that there was some type of an audit for a purchase on the scale of this, but I don't know. Maybe then you audit for the purposes of a business transaction versus auditing for the purpose of property tax, and there's different,
So we brought this to their attention?
yes, sir.
Okay.
And they've been very cooperative.
To know more, a couple of things, Jim. I know we, through our inducement agreement with Hospital now with Pfizer, are doing I won't use the word rebate, but they get part of their taxes back each year. Does this penalty fall under that doctrine also? Or Mr. Lamb, either one?
If it does, I'm not aware of how it would. That's a good question. I have not thought about that inducement package.
Where I'm going is, are we gonna give part of it back anyway, is my question.
Well,
Finance really
yeah.
deals with the inducement agreement. They pay their taxes, and then we give them a credit towards some of it,
They getting 50% of it back,
about 50.
10-year period, or is it 70, I believe it's 75%.
I believe it adjusts every year.
Right.
Over the period of time.
yeah.
But in the formula, there's nothing set up for penalties. It's
And
based
that
on.
was just based on the increase in value of the facility when they
That's
made
correct.
improvements.
That's correct.
they hit certain benchmarks.
So is the answer yes or is the answer no? Do we know?
I'm standing here, I don't want to give you the wrong answer, but I'm thinking that,
Whatever
see.
the total amount of taxes paid in a given year is
Yeah.
what the formula is based on. So if this is paid this year, this entire amount
will be factored into that agreement.
Will that cause us to have to increase our inducement to them because they paid?
It appears like it will, based on the language that Jim has got when he calls it. He says the penalty is included in the tax amount and it's all tax.
Yeah, 10% a year is how it. So I would think.
I'm just thinking we ought to consider that in our decision if indeed
Yeah.
we are. And then my other question, I'm reluctant to ask it, but I'm just going to ask it. TMA works on a percentage of what they discover, is that correct?
No, sir. That was the old way, but
Okay, why do I think that?
about 5 years ago, I'd say, 4 or 5 years ago, they did, the whole state was operating on a percentage basis.
Okay.
However, the law changed, and now
How does
it's
that
a
work
flat
Flat
rate
fee.
per audit. So I think it's like $735 an audit, I
Right.
believe.
And they mix up big ones and small ones. So they don't make a whole lot of money on this, but they make us a lot of money on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you see them as diligent as they were when they were working on a percentage, just out of curiosity? You don't need to answer that question, sir.
I'm sorry,
You
what?
don't have to answer that question.
I appreciate it.
We've done
Thank you.
comparisons on the past and the future, and the current, or they did it for us.
They've done some
Yeah.
comparison,
For
yeah.
some reason, that don't feel good
Yeah,
either,
yeah.
Mr. Lamb.
Yeah, we could certainly go back and do such comparison.
This might be something
Yeah.
thought,
Okay.
Mr. Wren. I guess I'm back to, does the staff, Mr. Lamb, have any guidance on this item since we just got it today? And I see where we're at. I think I fully understand what we got, but is there any guidance going along with it?
Well, during our preliminary conversations, we, after they have appealed the penalty and interest, we felt like our recommendation would be that we excuse that penalty and interest. They are great corporate citizens. They are being charged $200 and some thousand for personal property. They certainly were not aware of the first 3 years since they did not own it, and then the second 2 years, I guess they just had not updated all their information. So our initial recommendation was to excuse the penalty and interest. However, you have brought up that inducement agreement. I hate to, I just don't know how that affects the bottom line now.
Is this decision time sensitive, Mr. Wren?
We just, whatever we do, we need to let the city of Rocky Mount know. But the city of Rocky Mount
Got to deal
has
with
the
it
right
independently.
to refuse.
I got you.
But we have to advise them of what action we've taken.
Numbers we're looking at, is that both offices tax, or is it just ours and they've got another amount to deal with?
Yeah, they've got another amount to deal with, yes, sir. This is just Nash County only.
So, Mr. Lamb, if we give the staff time to research it between now and our first meeting in December, are we prompt enough to give
Yeah,
this
we
great
should
citizen an
be
answer?
okay.
Yeah, that'd be fine, and we can research the effect on the inducement agreement then.
We just need to give the taxpayer the opportunity to pay before the delinquent date.
Which is in January.
Yes, sir, January the 6th.
Well, I think we can do that. I'd also want the staff to look at the possibility of, maybe waiving, 60% of the penalty based on the fact that 60% was out of their control and 40% was under their own watch. Just another thought of a way to look at it.
Yeah, we thought about the first 3 years excusing, and that would be actually more than 60%, because it doubles
I got you.
yeah. So-
Yeah, I of course can't sit here and
Yeah.
calculate that in my head, but
Yeah, we also thought about 15, 14, 13 excusing, but not
Right.
16 and 17.
Yeah.
So we'll, if it's okay with the board, we'll look at that further and see how it affects the inducement agreement, if at all.
Okay.
Mr. Belfield?
Do you know what the penalty and interest amount is?
We do.
Yes, sir.
It's on the sheet.
It's,
Included in your material.
the total penalty is $64,860.
I see.
You see it, okay.
Well, the interest and penalty, I think this is something we ought to
Yeah,
look at.
Yeah.
And let the rest of it stand. Yeah, we need to make a decision on whether we want to, excuse the penalty.
Well, I think
And
the
the-
request is really just based on the penalty and interest, not on the tax.
Yeah, those,
Well, didn't they ask for the total?
no,
They
No,
did
sir.
not, sir.
just,
What's the 312,122?
That's the tax.
that is the total.
that's the total with tax, penalty, and interest.
Okay, but then when you take that out, it would be what?
247, 254.
Yeah, okay.
You okay, Mr. Belfield?
I'm fine now. That's the only thing I think we ought to look at. We got to look at it, this may come up again with some other company, and they'll look at what you're doing for this company. You ought to do it for me. So I
That's why I
think,
like the idea of doing it what was not under their watch.
yeah.
Yes,
But if the staff would just come back with a recommendation, looking at that part of it as well as the inducement part of it at our only December meeting, that'd be great. That
Okay.
suit the board?
Yes, sir.
I'm fine.
all right, we'll review the inducement and go accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wren. We've done 6, we've done 7. Mr. Outlaw, I'll turn it over to you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Richardson, as Chairman stated earlier, is having knee replacement surgery today, so our prayers go out to her, and we'll move to District 2, Commissioner Belfield.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I'll try to be as brief as possible. The farmer's market, we did have a meeting back on October the 30th. There was a presentation made in connection with SNAP-EP, SNAP/EBT. That's a program, as I understand it, the board has not made a decision on it, it was just a presentation made to them, where people, low-income people, can use this system by they will set up, it's called the Rural Forward North Carolina that runs this system. They would set up a system there where people can come in and get the coins, buy the coins, and then they go to the vendor and get what they want, and that vendor turn those coins in to get the cash for what the person bought. I'm not fully 100% understanding it. I had planned to have a meeting with Sandy before I made a report here, but we didn't get a chance to do that with her. But the board did not make a decision on it. I had to leave that meeting to get to another meeting this was a call meeting. Also, at that meeting, we updated the rules and regulations for vendors and how to operate the farmer's market. I have a copy of it, but I'm not gonna go into it. I think it takes up too much time. And that is my report. One other thing, we did have a presentation also on healthy living and eating and being active is also another program that the farmer's market may get involved in. It was presented to us for that purpose. The other is the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. We were given statistics from July 1, 17 to June 30, 17. How many youth have been referred by complaints? In Nash County, 72. By race, American Indian, Alaska Native 1, blacks 57, Hispanic, Latino 2, whites 9, 2 or more races 3. Most of those fell in the category age of 13 through 15. We had a discussion on it and how we can make an impact to lower that. Complaints received during that period of time were 226 for Nash County. I'm not gonna go through what happened in Edgecombe County. But anyway, we have 8 different agencies that's running programs that many of these are referred to those programs. Also, we're trying to lower the cost of juveniles being in detention. And let me see, I had that figure here for Nash County. Anyway, I may not be oh yeah, here it is. For Nash County, for one person being in detention, $139,334. It's an expensive operation, and now judges are looking at some of these complaints. They don't have to be in contention. They put detention. Those that are real bad will have to go through, but some of them counseling can handle that.
That is a heck of a number there.
Yeah. Top River Transit, we had a meeting and we approved 2 grants. Applying for 2 grants, and I'll give you the name of them, and that's all I'll do. One is fiscal year 2020 Community Transportation Program grant, and the other one is fiscal year 2020 Enhancement Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disability Grant Program. We also were given an update. Oh yeah. Vehicle replacement, delivery of 32 30-foot vehicles and 2 25-foot vehicles. And there was a discussion that we're gonna put cameras on these vehicles, and they feel like that will enhance something, and they're gonna change the fare boxes on the vehicles. And that's basically the update on transit. On the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government, and if anybody would like to see this, we established a new board orientation for staff members and board members. That's the big thing, and also we doing assessment on the goals and missions for fiscal year 19 and 20. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield. You've been busy.
Yeah.
District 3, Commissioner Combs.
Agriculture Advisory Board has not met. Human Services Board met October the 18th. Tyler Staverman from Veteran Services gave us a report. There were 163 office visits conducted in the month of August and 126 in the month of September. There's been, Nash County has now assisted 1,053 veterans in submitting claims for benefits. So they're staying quite busy. He also announced that remains of a U.S. soldier in action during the Korean War were returned and identified as those of William Hoover Jones. Mr. Jones is a Nash County citizen. Tyler had the opportunity to meet the Jones family after being invited by them to be present when the remains were returned to them. The family is currently planning a memorial service, and I don't know if that's happened by now or not. Burial will be held in Arlington National Cemetery at a later date. Tyler's pursuing several ideas on ways that Nash County can honor this soldier and his family, including the possibility of purchasing a memorial brick in Mr. Jones' memory to go in Rocky Mountain Veterans Memorial Park at Jack Lafferty Park. Shay Neal gave us a report from Department of Social Services. The state continues to work to provide accurate data so they will not initiate any action set forth in the Memorandum of Understanding related to the mandated performance requirements until January 1st, 2019. We've all been hearing about NC Fast. That, because of the Hurricane Florence, has been delayed. Nash County is scheduled to go live with that May 2019. Income maintenance staff saw 807 clients in June in 19 working days. They currently have 44 children and youth in foster care, 31 with a current plan of reunification. Child Support Division collections for September 2018 were $705,924. Mr. Hill gave the following report. Nash County Health Department has recently awarded $8,000 grant from the Dr. Ann F. Wolf Endowment. There were only 4 grants awarded statewide. The purpose of the initiative funded by this grant is to enhance the focus of our Baby Love Plus program, which focuses on improving birth outcomes and reducing Nash County's infant mortality rate. Nash County will partner with Nash Community College to provide 3 one-day seminars designed to educate participants on SIDS, prevention and pediatric heart saver, CPR, and first aid courses. The Nash County Health Department recently awarded a $20,000 grant from NC Department of Health and Human Services. The funds will be used to expand the Nash County Syringe Exchange Program through the Coalition for Addiction Recovery Education of Nash County by purchasing fentanyl and opioid testing strips that will be distributed through the CEP. Also will be able to assist Nash County EMS in expanding their post-overdose response teams using the grant funds. And I think that's a good grant, Mr. Hill. We appreciate y'all's efforts in getting that grant for us. On September 11, 2018, the Health Department received a letter from North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services stating that all funded HIV, HCV, STD testing organizations, service and substance abuse centers may no longer be funded after June 30, 2019. I guess we'd have to find funds to fund that in some other way. Mr. Hill gave the following updates. The 10th Convenience Center site at this time, nothing further, but they're still looking for a location. Home health as of September 1st, 2018, been sold, we know. All employees were offered positions within Nash County. Currently, we have placed 2 in social services, 1 in environmental health, 1 in the health department, and have another staff member that will be joining the health department on Monday. That was after the October 18th date. And there are currently 3 still left at Healthview at this time. Environmental health, the department had gotten down to 1 employee on August the 1st. They hired another fully trained person. On August the 15th, they hired an intern who is enrolled in the state environmental health well permit training program, and we're also to recruit a former environmental health specialist, and this has tremendously reduced the wait time that we heard so many folks complaining about. So after that, the meeting is adjourned, and that's all I have.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Informative.
And I missed 30 minutes in the meeting.
I believe I'd be correct in saying that Ms. Kozar, Ashley Kozar, kind of heads up the foster care program for the kids at Christmas. And if you know of any organization that may be interested in supporting that program, it could be for as little as $100, $150. But it's a great program. It's a lot like the Peacemakers program, Gifts to Kids. So if you know any organization that's interested in supporting that, I'd encourage you to promote that. Thank you, Mr. Cohn.
Well, may I ask a question?
Sure.
In connection with the state cutting off the HIV funding, did they, in your committee, did they discuss, did they state why they were doing that? I saw that somewhere. I believe I saw it, reading it on the computer.
I yield to Mr. Hill.
I think that's a federal cutback, and it.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I saw.
How much
Yeah.
that will come down to the state and individual counties, but they're just giving us kind of a warning, or if you want to, informational, time to prepare for some cutbacks. We don't know exactly how much that will be. I will say this, I'll look for other alternatives rather than local funds to try to replace it.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was leading, asking why, because it's a program that we really need to support. If taxpayer funds or grant money that we can find, wherever, to keep that program going.
Well, it certainly is an active program with the STDs, including AIDS, AIDS prevention, and it certainly, and even programs like, we're seeing more hepatitis C. So we're seeing a lot more communicable disease, sexually transmitted diseases.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield. Thank you, Mr. Cohn. And Commissioner Barnes, soon to be Representative Barnes, District 4.
For National Hospital Board of Directors meeting, the hospital is currently undergoing a strategic planning initiative. Over the next 6 months, I participated, as well as the other board members, in an interview with an outside firm that will be conducting, or will be doing the strategic planning. I think Mr. Lamb and the chairman also, y'all were interviewed for that initiative. Hopefully, it will benefit the hospital going forward in planning. Also, the Trillium Health Board meets next week, but I would just add that read the email from Dave Peterson about Oxford House being open in Nash County December 1st, so I think that's a great opportunity. And I asked him for more details when they are available.
Can you tell us where this house is located?
I do not know the location yet, but it is, a residential program for people in recovery.
Is it gonna be located in Nash
It's in
or
Nash
Wilson?
County. No, it's
I
not.
thought I heard last week about the possibility of being Wilson.
I will send an email right now.
Well,
So I think Mr.
That's-
Lamb's going to get that information for us.
yeah.
That's all.
Needed in
Thank you,
Nash.
Commissioner Barnes. District 5, Nash Community College meets tonight, so we don't actually have a mid-month meeting in December, but in January, I'm sure I'll have plenty of information from that board meeting tonight to share with you. The Upper Coast Plain RPO met recently. It was a pretty typical meeting. One thing that made it a little bit different is that there was a gentleman there named Eddie McFalls. He's a consultant to the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and he gave quite an excellent update on the CCX project. I've got a copy of that presentation for you, and you can pick it up at the conclusion of the meeting. It's very interesting reading, and I would encourage you to take the time to really look at the information. It talks about investment in the project, not only by CCX, but by the state. It talks about the duration of the project. There's really a lot of good information in there. Please pick up a copy at the conclusion of the meeting. The broadband internet project, Ms. McGee, as she normally does, she gave me an excellent update on the project. So I think what I'll do today is I'll just defer to you and let you speak to this update. And I've also got a copy of that information here for you as well. You can say it a whole lot better than I.
I don't know about that.
I'm sure of it.
Since last month's report, the county and the provider, CloudWise, held a launch date meeting on October 15th, and we met again on November 2nd. At the launch date, we agreed on the broadband pilot program Phase 1 success requirements, implementation timeline, and milestones. And since the launch date, the county has provided CloudWise with lots of information related to the history of the project and potential customers, including the petition results, the Nash Mount Public Schools survey results, and a running list of citizens who are possibly interested in high-speed internet service. Plus, we provided them with contact information for county personnel, commissioners, and community champions who may be involved with the project. CloudWise also has provided an online portal where it can share information with us during the project implementation. After the county and CloudWise looked at several options, we entered into a facilities use agreement regarding office, conference room, and warehouse space for the Network Operations Center. And during Phase 1, it will be located in the warehouse on the corner of Elm and Austin Streets in Nashville essentially on this site. CloudWise is in the early stages of build-out and implementation. It's looking into which towers will work best to serve the pilot project areas. To help, we've provided GIS data for the FCC registered structures, both the cell towers and radio towers. Plus, we provided what information we had on the water tanks that are public in the county. And we've shared with CloudWise the county's Unified Development Ordinance tower regulations and our contact for Cityscape, and provided contact information regarding permits they might need from the town of Nashville for the Network Operations Center and the towers. We are hopeful that CloudWise will be able to provide free Wi-Fi in certain rural parks and public spaces, and we're assisting them as needed with related information. So before next month's meeting, CloudWise plans to send a press release to the 4 newspapers in Nash County, and the CEO, Sean Olson, also plans to begin making presentations to local civic clubs over the next few months. And we've provided him with some contacts and information, and we'd be happy if any of you have organizations you'd like for him to present to pass that along. The Network Operations Center should also be up and running by next month. In fact, they started moving in, I think, Friday. The next meeting between the county and CloudWise is scheduled for November 27th, but we're working on things all along with them to help with the implementation. So we're essentially within budget and on schedule at this point in time, and we'll keep you updated regarding that.
Any questions for Ms. McGee? Is the presentation that CloudWise is going to make, do you know how long it is? Is it 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or?
I think they're pretty much looking at 15, 20 minutes, but they'll tailor it to the organization, whatever their needs are.
Okay, I've got some groups, I'll talk to you after the meeting that I'd like, maybe try to schedule into them.
Okay.
Thanks, thank you very much.
One question I have is the federal government and state government pushing to make sure or to assist rural areas in getting broadband?
I think that they agree it's a great idea, and I was actually at the Rural Center Forum on Friday and heard a presentation. The state has some funds, grant funds available in Tier 1 counties in underserved or unserved areas now. And USDA has some funds that are available for like Connect America, and all of those funds go directly to the providers. We're not in a good position in Nash County because we're a Tier 2 county, for one thing, and the funds go directly to the providers.
So since we are not a provider, we're not eligible for any of that grant money.
We ourselves are not eligible. It's possible that a provider would be eligible for some of those funds, but not the state funds. Those are in Tier 1 counties.
I heard the president last week say that, mention broadband is one of the areas that we need to work on for rural. He used the term rural states. And so I'm wondering, is it gonna move? I hope so. Now that he has mentioned it, maybe we'll get some traction from, because I know every time we go to Washington with the Congress and the lobbying that's going on up there, they don't want to bother with him. But maybe he can move them along since he made that statement. If you stick, don't forget he made it. But I heard him in an interview make it.
I understand. I've been hearing statements like that, I think, for 12 years, so I'm kind of wondering when it's going to trickle down, and I don't know if it'll be in time for us.
Well, just in case both sides of the aisle don't get on board with that program in the next 5 or 10 years, I think what we're doing is a good project to move it forward in Nash County.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. Whatever we can do to get it
Yes, sir.
in Nash County.
We'll keep
I
looking at
certainly support.
what the grants are that are available and see what we can do.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. I appreciate that update. District 6, Commissioner Wells.
Okay, the Turning Point Board is still very busy finding new applicants for jobs that are coming up within the area, and they are paying for their fees if they go to Nash Community or somewhere to get the training that they need for the specific companies they're asking for. So they're really working, trying to make sure that the people have jobs that are looking for jobs. On the STEP has gotten several grants statewide recently. They're really being recognized. They really are working. They're going to have a retreat in January. And they're also going to have another engineers workshop. They had one last year, this year, where the engineers from the company met with students. It was such a success, they're going to do it again the first of the year. That's it.
I also mentioned that Mr. Belfield will hopefully have a recommendation for that board at our December meeting, so we'll see what he comes back with. Thank you, Mr. Belfield.
Did you ask somebody?
District 7, Chairman Davis.
District 7 Tourism Development Authority, we have not met since our last meeting. We did have a email vote on 2 funding requests that I might have mentioned. One of them was for the study to hopefully help Nashville bring a hotel out here to the new business complex. That study is well underway. We split the cost with the landowner, and our board members voted unanimously to participate in that. I think we spent about $6,500 for that, our part of it. We also funded $5,000 to the Shriners Organization, who is bringing a major shrine convention to Nash County in the month of May, which was before our next meeting as far as allotting funds. And I believe they're expecting about 1,000 of those Shriners to be in Nash County, and have already, I know, filled up 3 of our hotels currently as we speak. So that's 2 items we've taken action on since the last meeting. The Rocky Mountain MPO, I have not met since the last meeting. It is meeting today at 4:30, and kind of think I might not make that because we got a closed session after this, but I'll catch up on what went on there. The Shell building, is now complete. We actually got a walkthrough that has been scheduled. I just got an email or a text from Mike Phillips at, 1:30 on Wednesday of this week, and Mr. Combs, if you could make that, I'd like for you to make it. Mr. Outlaw, I think you've got the same email. And that a walkthrough means that the building is complete and is ready for the owner to do an inspection on it. Mr. Phillips just asked if a couple of us would go with him since he's fairly new at inspecting buildings, so we'll do that walkthrough and formulate a punch list. I don't think it'll be a whole lot because I've been out there fairly recently, and then we'll put that project on a completion list. Gold Rock improvements, not a lot taken on, move forward on that. I see the one hotel is having asbestos removed as we speak. I wrote there this morning when I dropped my granddaughter off at school, and got a real mess on the corner right now, but in demolition, you got to make a real mess before you can get it totally cleaned up. So if you go through there, I don't think they've had a hurricane or a tornado. I think they're just in the progress of taking that one down. And the joint school board meeting, as we reported last time, the school board did not wish to meet in the small committee concept again until after they got their new members seated. Of course, we now know who those are, and I will touch base back with Stacey. We hadn't gotten another date set yet, have we? Okay. We're trying to schedule that meeting as soon as the school board is willing to meet with us, because we've got to continue on working on the new school up in the northern Nash area, and that's what I had, Mr. Outlaw.
You said the Shell building was Wednesday at 1:30?
Wednesday at 1:30.
Okay.
I think you saw that as the preliminary date, but
Well, I hadn't
yeah, he
seen it
just
yet.
confirmed it.
I also want to mention on the school board, when we do meet the next time, if it's appropriate, maybe we could touch on this Peacemaker Freedom School project, if there's some opportunity for the school to do some things
I
there.
think that's a great idea. It seems to be a little bit of a disconnect there for some reason. I'm not sure why, but
It
if it's
seems to
going.
be a great program.
Oh, it does.
I also failed to mention on the CCX update, I asked Ronnie Keeter, the Division 4 engineer, where we stood with the Highway 4 road improvements, and he said they're done. So I went out there, and a lot of it is done. I don't know if it's all done, but that road has been resurfaced.
Right.
If you go out there and you go on Highway 4 and you turn and go to the back, to get into the back way to that road that takes you down to CCX, they've done a lot of work out there, but there's still some work to be done.
I went, well, there was a lot of work going on this morning when I went through there.
There's a lot been done out there,
Right, where it
but,
ties into 4. I don't think they're,
yeah.
I don't know the confines of the project, but there's still work going on.
Mr. Chairman, that completes all reports, so I turn it back over to you.
Okay. Anything else prior to going into a closed session?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to commend Lisa on winning her election, and that Nash County be over there often, and we know that she's going to listen to us. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think we all,
We have 2 representatives from Nash County in the House.
yeah, will indeed. We will indeed. Congratulations to you, Ms. Barnes. We called you often, as Ms. Wells said. Looking ahead a little bit to Ms. Barnes leaving, if she doesn't change her mind. It doesn't seem like she's been going to change her mind. I've been waiting for a few months, but she hadn't done that yet. As you noticed in the committee report, she serves on 2 very important committees, which is our Board of Commissioners at the hospital, as well as our Trillium Board. And thinking ahead of replacement from another board member for those, I do think we should wait until after we get another individual seated for that position. And I made sure that we sent each board member what the Republican Party did last Tuesday night as far as what that process would be. Did all of you get that
Now you
email? It's
talking
been in the
about-
paper also.
You're talking about replacement
Yes.
of
Ms. Barnes, yes.
Barnes, okay.
Yep. We will be, as it said, we'll be taking letters of interest from anyone that wishes to apply. We intend to interview our executive board, all people that do apply, and then our board, executive board will be discussing that, hopefully the same night if it doesn't get too late, and then we'll be making a recommendation to this board. That will be sometime after December the 15th that we'll be making that recommendation. And Ms. Barnes, I think she still has agreed to serve most of December. She hadn't given me an official date yet, but most of December. And she also offered, if we needed her to, and I think we will, that she would be willing to attend additional hospital board meetings in January if we needed to, which I appreciate her doing that until we get that position filled. Any other comments, questions from members at this time? If not, I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session to consult with the attorney employed or retained by a public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege. The matters to be discussed will be location or expansion of an industry, to consider conditions of employment for an individual public officer.
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second to that motion? Second. Motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Bellfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? We stand recessed to a closed session at this time. Do we expect any action, Mr. Attorney? Do not expect any action to come forward in a public, back out front after this meeting. If something changes, we'll certainly get in touch with the press. Thank you.